In the last video, we were talking about how if I add some things to this order, now I want to delete something. If I delete it, it won't there come up. If I delete it, it doesn't delete it from this subtotal or from the total with that. So if I delete all of these, just ignore this box for a moment. It should be 0, but these are still there. It makes sense that when I do add some things here, when I cross that out, what I want is for this cell to be red at least. That would be a starting point, right? And we can do that. And it's good to test things out first, and I've already made a start here, and I've put the alert in. So we're in the function remove row. I went over how to get the index last time, and we're going to use that again. And it's important that we get this line of code before this line of code that deletes everything, because once it's deleted, we can't get any values from it. So if we just ignore the fact that it's in an alert at the moment and just look at it, it's document dot get element by ID, the same as it always is, right? And now we have dot rows, and I've got the I in there. If I put the 0 in there, and if I take out this and put length, now when I do it, it gives us length 3. Now, why does it give us length 3? Because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 there. So why does it say 3? Because it's counting the cells 1, 2, and 3. So there's meal 1 counts as one cell, the price counts as the next cell, and the button is in the last cell. And what we want to do is be able to isolate a single cell. So how are we going to isolate a single cell? Well, this cell here is 0, and I've kind of given it away really, haven't I? Because I had that in there before. So let's, if I do 0, oops, 0, where do you think that's going to be? 0, 0. It's going to be row 0, cell 0. So it's going to give meal 1. Let's get rid of these. In fact, just clear them all. Right now, if I put in meal 1, I'll add that, and I'll show you why I'm doing this in a minute. Meal 2. And meal 3. So now they're all different. So we can see what's going on. So if I put 0, 0, we expect it to give meal 1, right? Yeah, and what we're going to do is, I'm not going to delete it this time. I'm just going to pop that out. So let's do that again. Add to order, next one. Now we should be able to see what's going to happen. So if I do any of these x's, it's going to give meal 1, right? And it comes up with the object there, because we haven't told it to give us any value. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to have to put some thing in it, something in it. I've got too many dots there. Now, usually I would use value, but if I do value, and I put something in there. If I do value, so if I just do this one here, because it doesn't matter, it just comes up undefined. Okay, so that's why we use inner HTML. So inner HTML. So we've got inner HTML down here, but now it's doing something different. It's giving us that value. So now when I do it, and we add some more stuff there, it doesn't matter which one of these I do, it's going to do, it should give me a 1, right? And there it is, mill 1. So since we want the row, and this is all, this section here is already working out the row and storing it in a variable I, the index rather, and storing it in a variable I. If I put that in and save it, that's going to give me the right row. But I don't want the first cell. I want the second cell, which is going to be number 1, because it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So we save that, and now add this to the order, add this, add this, and add this. So now if I do this one here that I'm pointing out with the pointer, it's going to give 750, right? In the dialog box. And there it is, 750. It does give us 750. But there's still going to be some problems with it, isn't there? Because that value there has got a pound sign. So we need either to use the mill name to find out the price from somewhere else, which we could quite easily do, or find a way of getting rid of that pound sign. I've gone ahead with the code, and I've solved the problem, and it's pretty much sort of undo it all and then go back over it again. So I'm going to talk through what I've done. First of all, I'm going to show you what's happened. I add this, add the next one, add another, and the last one, so we can see what's going on. Now, this problem with these two totals has been resolved, because now if we zoom in there, if I cancel one of these, you'll see them change. Now if I take another one off, you'll see it change again. And you'll see them change, and it's gone right down to there, and then it goes all the way down to 0. Now, how did I do that? So in the function remove row, each time something is removed, because what it does is, like, you know, it finds what it's looking for based upon what the item name is and grabs the price. Now, what I've done over here is I've got this one in to deal with total, that's subtotal. And what it's doing is it's grabbing the subtotal that's already there and dividing it by 100. Now it's doing that for a purpose, because I changed something. I had to change something because it wasn't working very well. These values were floating point, but that wasn't working very well, because when you do addition with floating point, it's not always accurate, and sometimes it throws up some really strange answers. So cutting it down to 2 decimal places was just not, and I'd seen that problem earlier on and I just didn't twig it, but now I have. So what I do is I've done it in pence instead of pounds and pence. So I need to divide it by 100 each time. So I grab the subtotal and I divide it by 100 and fix it to two places. Here, or the line of code above has got subtotal, get the current subtotal, and then minus the item price. So we see up here we've got item dot name, if it's equal to the name that we put into the equation by getting it directly from the document. So it just subtracts it, that's all. And then what it does is it puts it back in. So it puts the new subtotal in, because this is set subtotal. This is get subtotal. So this set subtotal, even though it's not a variable, it's a function. It's calling a function and it's saying, hey, grab this. So we've got up here, like we've got the get subtotal and set subtotal, and it's num. That is this bit here that's being put in here. So I'm deducting the item price off of the subtotal, and then I am dividing it by 100 to give it in pounds and pence. And now the VAT is a little bit more tricky because we've got to take off the VAT as well, right? So what it's doing here is it's getting the subtotal and timesing it by 12 and then dividing it by 10 and then dividing all of that by 100. Now, the reason why I had to do that is because it doesn't like the floating points. So instead of timesing it by 1.2, I times it by 12 and then divide it by 10 so that it becomes like being 1.2. But I still need to divide the whole thing by 100, just the same as I need to divide it by 100 up here, and then I fix it to two decimal places. Now this part, maths.ceiling or seal, that rounds it up. So even if it's 0.2, it will go to 1. If it's 2.3, it will go to 3. It always rounds up, no matter what it is. Even if it is 0.1, it will round up. So I round it up to make sure that it always gets rounded up and then is fixed to 2. What happens if I take that out and then run? Add to order. I can still keep adding these in. Ah, see, there was one of them in there. And it's gone now. And I think what I do is if I clear all of that, I'll show you. Now if I add this one in. I don't think that's going to do it now. But I want to make sure this always gets to 2. Because when it's divided, it could be just 1 point, it could be 63.1. And in which case it will, and here, look, it just says 45. It hasn't added on the pence. These aren't going to do it. So that's why we put that on there. because it's been divided by 100. So it's whatever it is, it's always going to have two decimals. It's just that when it's displayed, if it's say 15.20, it will just show as 15.2. So that's why we always put the 2 back on there. So as you can see, it works really very well. I can add this mil, and I can add this mil, and I can add this mil. And let's say I don't want this one anymore. I just want these two. It's done it down here because we haven't saved it up there. So you can see it there, like 19.1. Whereas if I'd saved that, go back here. And I'll take that one out. I think they were different mils, weren't they? But anyhow, gives us the 2. Now, we want to move on to the next part of the puzzle. If you feel confused over this part, then my blog is going to help out with that. And down here, what I do is every time I get subtotal, I divide it by 100 and fix it to 2 decimal places if I'm just going to display it. Yeah. Otherwise, I just do the calculations on it as if it was an integer, because that's going to give much more accurate results. Because otherwise, our poor computer is not going to like it. Right. So now, if I decide I want these, I want meal 1 and meal 2. How am I going to order it? How am I going to say, right, okay, this is my order finalized? The other thing that we haven't done is logged in. Because once we finalize the order, who are they going to know to send the order to? So we're going to need things like name and table number. So what should we do there first? I think it would be best if we do some sort of login thing. And that's what we're going to talk about in the next video. We're going to do the login, and if we get time, we'll do the complete the order. Okay? I hope you like this video. Please give it a like. Give me some feedback in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Was there something you needed to know about I didn't go over very clearly? Please let me know.